on. It is Sunday sit down time. We got the St. Louis Post-Dispatch's Eli Hoff making his return from the summer. Eli, we were just talking, the summer flew by, didn't it?
Yeah, just like that, off-season's over a week from now. Mizzou football players are going to be moved in for fall camp, and it feels like not that long ago we were talking about March Madness, so it goes.
Well, it's crazy, but we're happy to have the season back again. We obviously just got back from Atlanta this week, got to hear from the Tigers for SEC Media Days. What was your biggest, I guess, takeaway from what, Drinkwitz and players had to say down there?
Yeah, Eli Drinkwitz has jokes still. We saw some of that from the podium. There's some of these things that I feel like he just can't help himself at times from commenting there. So he certainly had his thoughts and was willing to share them. But it was good to see this crop of seniors and players who will be stepping in. We talked to Connor Tollison, Dalen Carnell, Zion Young, some of those players who will have to be key figures on this team. And I think it should be reassuring to fans to hear what we heard from them. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of spotlight on guys like Bo Prabula and Sam Horn and what their role will be this fall. But you need those pieces around there to be stable and steady and locked in. And that was one of my takeaways from Atlanta.
Well, I don't feel like we learned a lot about the quarterback competition. Wasn't really expecting to when we went down there. But what do you feel like you kind of took away from what they were able to say about Bo and Sam?
Yeah, I think the key takeaway for me, one of the key questions I had going in was just going to be the confirmation that Sam Horn will be playing football this fall. I think it was never really up for debate, but he did get picked by the Dodgers in the draft. He could have signed, right? So getting that confirmation that Mizzou still expects him to be committed, that Eli Drinkwitz and Sam Horn's representatives, they were all on the same page with this. So I think that's good there. And I think it shows that Sam Horn maybe has a little bit more of a shot than we're getting him credit for. I still, if you asked me to predict, I'd say Bo Prabula, but I do think Sam Horn's a legit contender here. This is going to go into fall camp. I doubt this is the sort of thing that gets settled on the first day of fall camp either. So this is now the storyline for the foreseeable future, and maybe it gets settled before the first game. In 2023, it didn't. So I think that's where the battle stands.
Well, I was just going to ask, obviously, we don't really know, but if you had to predict, when do you think Eli would like to try to name a starter for this football team? Will it be right before the first game, or would you like to have it midway in camp?
Yeah, that's certainly something I think we'll want to ask him when fall camp starts. I'm sure he won't want to commit to a timeline with that. But I do wonder if he wants to have it settled by the first game, or if he's open to the idea of doing what they did against South Dakota in 23 and giving Bo Prabula a half and Sam Horn a half of football and see what happens. I think that can work, but at the same time, the earlier is probably the better. So it's a really fine line for Eli Drinkwitz to walk with the timeline of this battle.
Well, this offensive line, one of the biggest question marks heading into the 2025 season. Obviously, we got confirmation that Connor Tollison at center is feeling better at about 85%. How big is it to have an anchor like that healthy on this line that's facing a lot of change going into this year?
That's absolutely massive. Caden Green gets the first team All-SEC nod. He's the star of the offensive line, but Connor Tollison is the quarterback of the offensive line, and he goes above and beyond. We were hearing from him down in Media Days. He wants to be an offensive coordinator someday. He knows the offensive system as well as anybody else on the field. He spent some of spring practice when he was on the shelf with his ACL injury critiquing Kirby Moore's play calling. That's how well he knows this. So having him back on the offensive line is a really big deal, partly because that left tackle spot that is arguably the most important spot on the offensive line, that's going to be up for grabs along with quarterback. So the more stability you can get anywhere else, the better.
Well, I know we're facing a lot of change. Mizzou is going into this season, but what do you like about the changes that they did bring in? You look at an Ahmad Hardy, a Kevin Coleman, looking to probably be centerpieces and focal points of this offense.
This is the interesting thing. This transfer portal class that Eli Drinkwitz brought in has aged better and better as this offseason has gone. So we've seen the hype around Ahmad Hardy continue to build. Kevin Coleman, you just see what a steadying presence he is for that wide receiver core. Then you look on defense. It's someone like Damon Wilson, who seemed like kind of a luxury add out of the portal because Mizzou had a lot of defensive ends. Now that position group is as deep as it gets in the SEC. You look at a player like Josiah Trotter at linebacker there. It's just incredible the amount of depth Mizzou was able to bring in there, and the portal ads have just continued to look better.
Well, this defense, I feel like we talked about it all SEC Media Days. It has so much depth. Eli Drinkwitz loves the defensive end room. How much do you feel like this team is maybe going to lean on this defense? When you look at how many question marks and new things that are on the offensive side, how much do you think that group will be leaned on this season?
I think the defense needs to be the steady group going into this, just because you're going to have some volatility at quarterback, and regardless of whether it's Sam Horn or Bo Prabula, regardless of whether Ahmad Hardy is as good as we think he is, this does strike me as a roster that's going to lean on defense as a calling card. And you heard in Atlanta last week, Corey Batoon in line, we think, to receive a contract extension. Now, that's how much Mizzou likes what's happening on the defensive side of the football here. You look at the schedule, and there's going to be good quarterbacks. There's going to be good offenses on there. I think the way Mizzou stays competitive in 2025 in a macro sense is playing really, really good defensive football.
Well, we had a lot of football news this week, but even biggest basketball news, I think, even kind of outshined the football news this week. Obviously, Dennis Gates picking up just the second five-star recruit in Jason Crow. You know, what do you like about that commitment? Obviously, a historic commitment for Coach Gates.
Yeah, I mean, what is there not to like, right? Five-star, number 5 point guard in the class coming over. He's from Inglewood, California. I mean, this is the type of recruit that can alter a program's trajectory. He's the second highest rated recruit ever in program history besides Michael Porter Jr., and we know how that went. So I think you see what MPJ was to Mizzou now. Gosh, that was almost 8 years ago. You see what he was then, and he barely played. If Jason Crow Jr. can actually play, he can be so much to this Mizzou program. So it really is just a massive recruiting win for Dennis Gates. We've known he's a good recruiter. Getting players like Jason Crow Jr., that's a different level. These players who are projected one-and-done types who already have NBA scouts watching them, that's not easy to get. So this is just a really good job by Dennis Gates.
Well, it's kind of funny on that note because you look on social media and people are saying that Dennis got in kind of maybe late to the game, later than a Kentucky did. Maybe, you know, what does it say about Coach Gates that he was able to get this commitment, maybe came in a little late, but still was able to lock down Jason Crow?
Yeah, I think it speaks to his authenticity of who he is, that he can come into a recruiting process fairly late and in a matter of really only a few weeks. I first heard Jason Crow Jr.'s name a few weeks ago, so maybe Mizzou was in a little earlier than that, but this came together very, very quickly, that he can come in and pretty succinctly make his pitch, make clear who he is, what this program is about, what Mizzou is about, without Jason Crow Jr. even needing to take a visit. He hasn't been to Columbia yet, to my knowledge. He'll be here for the Norm Stewart Classic in December. Maybe that'll be his first visit, maybe it won't be. But there's something about Dennis Gates and the way he's able to recruit that he can impart all of that so quickly and win a player over. When Jason Crow Jr., Kentucky was the main contender, he probably could have gone to any school in the country. I don't think anybody's going to say no to a talent like that. So it just speaks to the way Dennis Gates is able to relate to these kids.
Well, exciting times. We're really getting started now, Eli. I appreciate you making the time before crazy season begins for us here.
Of course, happy to be here.
For the rest of you guys, we'll be right back after the break.